He's standing still. And said, you pulled on the reins, went riding off towards the west. Said, I looked down there, and there's a whole lot of scientists. And the next morning, that was Saturday, on the next morning, I preached on scientists, being of the devil. And said, scientists, as they were pouring things in tubes and mixing it, said, you stopped the horse, raised up your hands again and screamed, I'll ride this trail once more. And so the whole earth shook. Then people shook. Said, looked up and looked one another like that, looked up to you. They just shrugged their shoulders and went on with their scientific research. And said, you started going on towards the west. And when it did, said, I seen this man that called himself a prophet, said he come up on a horse that was mixed with white and black together. And said, he got up behind this great big horse, said it was, say, way up above the clouds, and the road wasn't over about that wide. And said, that horse just starts with the wind blowing, the feathers and everything on your garb. And said, then the horse mane and tail blowing, great master, big white horse, walking right in line. And said, this guy run up behind you, come from towards Canada. And the man lives in Canada. And he said, come back. And said he took his little horse trying to knock your big horse off, turned him around, make his hips hit against the... Said never moved the big horse. He just kept walking. Said then all of a sudden, said you turned around. Said that'd be the third time you'd spoke, but the second time you'd said, I'll ride. And said you didn't speak like you did. You commanded. Said you turned around and called the man by name and said, get off of here. You know that no man can ride this road here without God be ordained him to do it. Get off of here. It said the man turned around. It said the man has wrote me letters. It said across his horse's hips, that black and gray and mixed up together, said across his horse's hips was wrote his name signature just exactly like it's on his letter. And he rode off towards the north. Said then you went on down. That big horse turned around way as far west as you could. Said he stood and raised your hands up like that. And then he started crying. Said, Brother Branham, see that horse standing on that war bonnet and everything like that? And said that breastplate and everything shining. Said you held your hands up a little while and said he looked down again, picked up the reins, said, I'll ride this trail just once more. Said the whole earth shook back and forth like that. And said there was no more life left in me. I just fell down the side of the rock and I woke up. Said, what does it mean, sir? I said, I don't know. Next morning, Junior Jackson, who dreamed about the pyramid, when I went out west, you remember that? He called me a month or two before that. He had a dream this burning he had to tell me. And I said, Billy, there's about 20 standing out there. He said, Junior Jackson out there said he had to tell you that dream. I said, send him in just about 5 minutes. He brought his wife in, and he said for a witness. He said, I dreamed, Brother Branham, me and my wife was out riding. And said, I looked back in the east, and I saw it look like a spot, like one of them flying saucers. See, the world don't know what that is, it's on, we know what it is. We know it's investigating judgment angels, you see, how at the Pentagon, all about how it comes right down to the intelligence, how they can go like a flash and be gone, pull away from anything they got. See, they don't realize what it is. See, let them think whatever they want to. They call it flying saucers or whatever. They don't know. See? Said it, and I seen it coming, and I watched it. And what it was is a man on a horse. And said he's coming with lightning speed. Said I seen he's going to come down in front of me, and I stopped my car, jumped out. When it did, said the horse is standing on the road, a great white military horse, walking in a prance. That's the word, of course, walking in a prance. Said there's a man sitting on there. Said he is dressed in Western garb. Wasn't a cowboy, but said looked like a chief over Rangers or something. See, all of his chief authority from the West. The Indians over the Indians, Rangers over. See, and said the man had his head pulled down and he was looking sideways. And said when he turned sideways, said it was you, Brother Branham. Said, you never talked like you did. He said, Junior! Called him 3 times. He said, I'll tell you what to do. And said, then you pulled up on the reins of this horse. He made about 3 lopes and took to the skies and you were gone. Towards the west. He said, just a minute, I looked around, and here come a horse smaller than that, and of the same breed, but smaller, and stood. Said, I walked around. I said, he must have sent this back for me. Said, I got in. Junior's done a little riding too. And he said, you know how your saddle fits you, Brother Branham, the stirrups and everything? Said, I thought, well, this fits me just right. Said, I pulled up on the reins, off to the skies. Said, I pulled on the reins and stopped him. Turned him around and went back. See? When I went back, said, I stopped the horse, got off, told my wife, the horse is gone. And he was worked up. Then, day before yesterday, 3 days ago, come Leo Mercer. Coming down with exactly the same dream, not knowing nothing about it. About trying to breed a big white stallion to a black mare. And they couldn't do it, nervous. Said, I walked up there, said, Leo. And told him what I did. I don't want to say it here, see. I told him what I did. Said, don't you see not to know this? I didn't know Ed Dalton had a son-in-law, and the son-in-law had a dog with this name. You'll know, Leo, as you're dreaming, but when you wake up, remember it! And said, I never heard such a command. About that time, Roy Roberson come in and said, Brother Branham, you remember back there before you left the church the first time? I seen you sitting like in Palestine, where all the board and everything, sitting like the Lord's Supper table, and then you're talking, you wasn't sure what you was talking about, said a white cloud come down and got you. Packed you away. How many remembers the dream of Brother Roy? It said the white cloud packed you away. And said then you was gone. I walked through the streets screaming and crying. When I come up out here, that little old